Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
If you live to age 100, will your retirement savings last as long as you do? You know, there's a big expense that many of us forget to include when we're thinking and doing the math on how long our money is going to last us in retirement. So Eric is here to tell us what that is here in just a moment. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer with Eric Heckman, and I want to start off by giving you our phone number. Very important to have as we get into our show today, because you're going to want to call Eric with any questions you might have. 800-454-1184 is the number to call. You can also text, okay, by using that same number. You can text the word toolbox, and you can get Eric's blueprint to Worry Less Wealth. That's his book, complimentary, plus some other educational materials. Text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, and find us online anytime at wealthcreatorradio.com. Eric, hello to you.
Hey, Luann. Yeah, it's definitely a big topic now that people are living so much longer. And, one of the things that actually I've been doing some work on myself personally is just looking at ways to increase your health span, not just your lifespan, right? So you don't want to just live long and not be healthy, but you want to live long and actually have good health. So, there's a lot more data and stuff about just getting scans, getting checkups that are more than what a normal doctor does, but, things to really try to improve your health and make sure you have a good life as long as it can be, and good health, not just, being here. Right. So
exactly.
And, one of the interesting things, like, Tony Robbins wrote a huge book called Life Force, and it was along with Peter Diamandis and some other people that, just talking about the fact that there's so much technology change on the health side that we don't hear about, that there's a lot of debate about when this is exactly happening, but they're kind of thinking this is about the time where every year somebody lives longer, they'll probably live an extra year. So every day you live one more day, you're going to probably live 2 more days, just because of the health changes and all these, all these new advancements, and then, being a lot more specific and customized with people's, health stuff, so they can do a lot more therapies, a lot more things that are good for everybody. But yeah, and obviously if that's the case and we're going to live and be healthy and live a lot longer, you got to have some money. Right?
Yeah, it needs to last.
Yeah. So that I think that's probably about the biggest thing to start taking away from that is, even if you think, oh, well, a lot of people in my family didn't live as long or whatever. Well, there's a lot more advancements and you may live a lot longer. So don't plan on passing away real early and only having money to last till you're, say, 75 or something, because you may be here till you're 95, and that would be bad if you ran out at 75.
Right. I mean, we talk about that all the time. A risk, which you don't think of it as a risk. If you live a long time, why would you think of it as a risk, right? You're like, oh, awesome, and a long, healthy life. But there is a risk, that financial risk, making that money last as long as you can. And I know that's why you are a retirement planner, so you can help your retirees and guide them with strategies about their money.
Yeah, exactly. And so, one of the things that you can have is, most of us don't have pensions. So there are ways to basically buy your own pension. There's different investment products and tools, insurance tools and such that make sure that money lasts as long as you do. So even if you do make it to 110 or something crazy like that, they're stuck they're stuck having to pay you. And there's more and more data that's been around for a while, but I think it's even getting more and more critical that says you need to have something like that. You need to have some money in something that's going to be guaranteed, that's going to keep paying, because can't rely just on Social Security and government support for that. You need to have something that's independent and privately owned and by you. And so I think that needs to be part of everybody's plan now is to build that in, that longevity risk.
And then another thing, right now, more than 100,000 people are 100 years old, and about 80% of those are women. So as a retirement planner, Tell us what that statistic means to you, Eric.
Well, guys get it easier, I guess, right? So,
I don't know.
yeah, well, they're God, and then the women have to figure out how to manage the finances and make that money last. So, no, I think for women out there, who statistically have always outlived men, that's got to be something that they've got to have a little bit of a wake up call or whatever you want to call that on to make sure that they know that their money's going to last, that they know, even if they're not the ones who, I find most couples, one person in the family does it, but even if you're not the one who does all the finance stuff, you may be the one who ends up having to do the finance stuff. So you got to be paying attention. You got to make sure, these issues are taken care of because of, it's going to really mostly affect you, not your spouse. So, I think that's a big wake up call for women to really, go out there and kind of get more information, find out what there is to do. Our process is built in that blueprint where we look at your income plan. Will that money last? We'll look at, the investment risk that you have. Does it match what income things you need? Taxes, how do we minimize those taxes over your lifetime, not just 1 year? And then healthcare issues and legacy issues. And so those are the 5 areas that everybody needs to have a plan for. And what we've done is we've created a lot of great tools like Will Your Money Last As Long As You Do, which obviously very good for this topic.
Yep.
Social Security timing decisions, all sorts of things. My copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth, and even a way to set up a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. So, if you want to go get all those tools, we can easily send you a link. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And one thing I want to mention here, too, is that Eric and his team hold many events throughout the year, some for women only. But for any of those details or just to sign up for them, head to their website, wealthcreatorradio.com. And thank you for joining us. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. Eric, as we discuss the possibility and the hope of living a very long time in retirement, I mentioned earlier that analysts say there's a significant retirement expense that people are forgetting about. So tell us what that is.
Yeah, well, that big one was just here, taxes, right?
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, most people, just rush to get their taxes done and reported on. And then they do nothing, right? I mean, during tax season for most tax preparers, and we do taxes in our office, and it's somewhat of a nightmare in terms of April, because especially this year was rough because we didn't have any of those extensions we've had since COVID.
Yeah.
And so, what happens is during that tax season, I mean, if people are just going from return to return, and there's no time to do tax planning. So really what you should be doing is tax planning at the end of the year to say, okay, what should I do differently? What can we change for the next year? Should I be doing Roth conversions to save taxes over my lifetime? It's not really about how do I save money on tax today? It's how do I pay the least in tax over my lifetime? And so lots of times that's that's the big problem is people don't, they'll ask, okay, how do I save tax? But that decision may actually make them pay more in tax over time.
Okay.
So really we want to focus on lowest taxes over your lifetime. And, that's where you have to do a plan ahead of time. You can't do it after the fact. Once that ball drops at New Year's, it's over with. So
year's done.
So you could even be doing it now. I mean, it might not be a bad idea to start doing some of that tax planning today, because that's the good time to be, knowing where you're at and then making those changes, especially right after tax season. And we've actually got a great tool where we can scan somebody's return and, in about 10 minutes, we get a report that says, here's all the issues that we should be paying attention to. So definitely need to be doing more tax planning.
All right. And we do know that the clock is ticking on our current tax rates. They're going to expire at the end of 2025. We do know taxes are going up. So again, we're offering a chance for people to come in and see you. Eric, tell us about that.
Like you said, the current tax law ends at the end of 2025, which used to sound like a long time away, but that's end of next year. And and so this is, taxes are on sale for most people. Taxes are cheap. Well, what do you do when something's cheap? You typically buy it then. Well, and here you pay the tax now. It sounds weird to do, but yeah, a lot of times it may make more sense to pay that tax now and not have to pay as much tax down the road. So, that's why I think everybody really needs to have a tax plan, tax analysis. So that's one of the things we can do. So if you want to get a little bit more information about how to make your taxes a lot less worse next year, can't get rid of them, but at least hopefully we make them a lot less worse. All you have to do is text the word visit to set up a time to talk. Again, text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit 800-454-1184. 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
We'll be right back with more from Eric Heckman.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Are you happy with your Medicare plan? Even if you are, what was good for you this year might not be what's best for you next year. The team at Heckman Financial can help you sort through all the options to find the best one for you. Call now, 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Thank you so much for joining us today. For years, annuities have gotten a bum rap. I feel like if I say that word, everybody kind of cringes, There are a lot of strings attached. People are scared because your money is locked up for a certain amount of time. And I think everybody's heard all the cons about annuities for years. With all the company pensions dying out, though, the tide is starting to turn. And Eric, annuity sales have had record years recently. So tell us about maybe why you think there's a reason behind the increased interest in annuities, please.
Yeah, well, some of the funniest things that I just hear about annuities is like there's a certain, we'll just call them a phishing company, maybe. I won't use their real name, but they always say, I hate annuities and you should too. And well, let's see. What are the two biggest forms of annuities? Well, one's a thing called Social Security. I've never really met anybody who hates their Social Security check that they get every month.
Right.
Never met that person. And, then the other one is a pension, like a government pension or teacher's pension. Never heard anybody who hates getting that check every month. So I can't believe any sort of financial firm would ever say, I hate annuities. And two of the biggest annuities are the biggest ways that some people, or a lot of people, live in retirement, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's also been a lot more financial data now of actual academic studies. There's a guy named Wade Pfau, and you will never spell his last name correct.
Oh, yeah?
It's P-F-A-U.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But he's done some research in just like withdrawal rates and all these kind of geeky kind of, academic studies. But a lot of it has come back where, if you don't have some money guaranteed for life, that's going to always be there with the people living so much longer and longer that, you may be hard pressed to have a, very successful retirement. So that's, I think, what's starting to really make people realize that, I actually do need to have something that I can't mess up, something that's going to keep coming in and something that will be there even if, I make it into my 90s and such, because I've got a lot of clients actually in their 70s that have their parents still living.
Wow.
And so I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people are starting to realize that, actually I do need to have some protection. And the flip side of all this is now rates have gotten so much better and gone up so much. So now this is something that, there are a lot more options. There are a lot of great things out there. And, people really should be paying attention to all the products out there.
Exactly. Because you're talking income for your retirement and you have to pull from different places throughout your years that you're retired. So why don't you talk about the difference between what's considered protected income, like a pension or an annuity, and then, maybe money, that non-guaranteed income.
So, there's a couple different basic types of annuities. There's ones that are more like a CD at the bank kind of thing, where those just earn a fixed rate. Those aren't really designed for income per se, right? They're just you're going to get so much interest. There's ones that are variable. Now, those are the ones with all the fees and costs, and those are typically the ones as a fiduciary standard of care financial advisor I can pretty much almost never recommend. But those are the ones that are in the market and such. And those ones can have some guarantees on them, but because of they're so volatile and there's so much fees, it's pretty tough guarantees. And then there's the index kind. These are ones where the principal is protected, but they earn a rate based on like an S&P 500 or some sort of index out there. So what you can do is you can just have a normal accumulation one, where accumulation one would be just like any other investment account that you have, just like your IRA or your 401k. It's going to have a balance. It's going to change over time, right? But you don't necessarily know exactly how much money you're going to make. And so, that's one where you can take out money, you can withdraw. Now, the nice thing is if it's an index kind, you'll never lose the principal. Mm-hmm. So at least you don't have that risk of that bad year eating up all your money.
Right.
But it doesn't per se have a set amount that you can get for the rest of your life. Now, if you want to add that, usually there's a fee or a cost to have some sort of set guarantee where it says, okay, from here on out, you're going to get, if you start at this age or you start at this age, this is how much you're going to get for the rest of your life. The cool thing about those, actually, even though most people are funding these with their individual retirement accounts, you can actually have a joint payout. So if you're married, you can actually have a joint payout on an individual retirement account. So, which makes it a lot more attractive to people. Now, even in California, there's been finally some of these that are getting approved where you can also have that income double if you need long-term care. So if you end up needing home care or nursing home care, or whatever type of care, but as long as you qualify, which is usually can't do two activities of daily living. If they were paying you $20,000 a year, now they'll pay you $40,000 for up to 5 years.
Goodness, that's awesome. Yeah.
So it's obviously not going to pay for all the care, but it's going to help you out a lot.
Big time.
And then, of course, that when you have those guarantees, those monies don't run out. So even if you run out of money in the account, the insurance portion of this says that, okay, if the money's all gone, you keep getting that check, even though there's nothing left in the account. So, that's where people kind of really like it, right? Because if you know you're going to have so much money there, it can't go away, then at least there's some portion that will be there forever to pay your fixed expenses and along with Social Security, and most likely not a pension, right? So this is a way to kind of buy your own pension.
So, Eric, talk about the challenges, though. If someone's retirement income is just maybe money and they don't have something more predictable like an annuity.
Yeah, well, that's called a,
hope and a prayer.
Yeah, hope and a prayer, right? Yeah, let's try it. Let's hope this all works. Maybe this works, and if not, what happens? There's a huge fear, especially among women, of people ending up on the streets and not having enough money to live. And so again, that's why we've actually created that blueprint to worry less wealth, where we have an income plan to see if that money will last. But then you also have to look at the investments and, what is that risk level? Are those investments guaranteed? Are those foundational where they're in a bad year, they're going to still have money there? Are they paying a lot of dividends and steady income out? A lot of market money doesn't pay much income. So you're having to sell shares every month. And that's where that whole hope and maybe money comes in. And, maybe is not the best thing to have everything banked in. You want to have some stuff that you're not having to hope and you're not having to to pray that it lasts type of thing. So again, that's why you want to have a plan. You want to have that income plan. You want to have that, investments, taxes, healthcare, legacy plan, all wrapped into one. And then if you can get some of these other benefits to help you in stuff like, long-term care, which would be part of the healthcare part, and also give you income, well, obviously that's that's even better, right? So it just makes life easier. So again, what we've set up is a lot of great resources of, will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? Social Security decision, all these things really kind of affect, should you or should you not have an annuity in your plan? And all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, if you want to get great access to all this info, just text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And you are listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. We're talking today about annuities, all about annuities, and hoping you understand them and aren't afraid of them. You know, they are just another tool that you can use for your income in retirement. Eric, how do we find that right balance between protecting our income and yet growing it as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got, 10 or 20 million, you could probably just put it all in stuff guaranteed and you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
But in case you don't, like most of us, you still want to have some money growing, but you want to have a balance. So I'm a big believer in having so much money in foundational money. That's stuff that's guaranteed by either insurance company, the bank, U.S. Treasury, something like that. That's where annuities would come into play. Having some steady income stuff pays to dividends and cash flow, and then have your market money. But most people are all focused on the market money because your 401k has to be 100% market money. And so this is what you should be doing with your other money is diversifying it out, having some foundational money that's going to always be there. Sometimes you're going to have some great tax effects too, because I was talking to somebody who had sold a piece of property and they had $500,000 that they were just sitting in a bank account earning interest. Well, I said, if you move that to tax deferred annuity, let's just pretend it's the same rate. Normally it's about 0.5% to 1% higher, but even at the same rate, over the next 20 years, that was going to save them almost $200,000 in taxes by moving it to this account, because they're going to probably not need this money. Now it's tax deferred. So now they're getting tax benefits. So it's not only about just income or protection. It also can be about taxes. And so, again, you got to look at this in an overall planning situation. The problem is people say, oh, should I do this product or should I do this product? And then they get bad advice because it's only about that product, right? And so if you do it as part of an overall plan, then you know where things fit in. But without that plan, it just doesn't work. So, again, if you want to get a lot more information, all you got to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
We'll continue our conversation about today's annuities because they're a world away from the ones your grandparents had. We'll be right back with Wealth Creator Radio and Eric Heckman.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president at Heckman Financial, where their mission is to get you to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. An annuity may or may not be right for you, right? Okay. But one thing's for certain, today's annuities are a world away from the ones that your grandparents had. Eric, talk about how much has changed with the income tools that we have today for our income.
Yeah, well, there's two big things that's happened in the basically last 2 decades here. Is one is the fixed indexed annuities weren't even around. So that's one thing that's newer. These are ones where the principal's protected, but it earn rates based on an outside index like S&P 500. So that's a great option because it gives you a little bit more earnings potential without taking any additional principal risk. And then, the income for life features have been huge. And those, again, have been around almost the same timeline, about 20 years now. And I've got a lot of clients that they just keep getting that check and they know that check's going to keep coming in for the rest of their life. And, it does give you a lot more peace of mind, gives you a lot more, relaxation time and, enjoyment of life, I guess would be probably maybe the best way to say it. Of once you've got so much money coming in the door every single month without fail. And so, that's one of the best things that's been, that I've been using for, 10 or 15 years now with clients, but now a lot of them are actually have turned those on and they're getting that cash flow. And, yeah, it's great because they just love it. I mean, it's just like keeps coming in. And I mean, every once in a while, some of them actually even complain because it's like, wow, I keep getting so much income. I'm paying taxes on it. It's like, well,
yeah.
I'd much rather you have a tax problem than a no money problem.
No money. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah. And you can help them too with the tax strategies, figure out, which to do and all that. Yeah. So, all right. There are a lot of different annuities out there. You already kind of went over those earlier, but can you just go over the kinds of annuities again that are available?
Yeah, well, I usually like to start off with there's two main types. One is immediate and one's deferred. So immediate, easiest one to think about there is Social Security. Once you get to whatever age you want to turn that on, if it's 65, 67, full retirement age for most people. You can go as early as 62, as late as 70, right? But once you turn that on, that income's going to keep coming in every single month for as long as you're around. And the second you're gone, that money's gone.
Okay.
And so you can do that with your own money. You can actually, I had a client who was in his 80s and he didn't have any beneficiaries or anything. So he just kept rolling the dice and buying more immediate annuities. And, the break even was about 7 years. So all he had to do was live 7 years and he would get all his money back. Yeah. And then if he made it a couple of years past that, it could be up to 50, 60% return because because how much money it was paid out. And he did unfortunately pass away, but he, during that time frame, his first few that he did, whatever you want to call it, break the bank or, beat the insurance company on. Two of them, I don't think he did, but again, he just had that cash flow coming in. Most people don't like it just because of what say you give $100,000 and you get whatever a monthly income, that money's gone when you're gone. So most people don't like that because they want to leave something behind. Mm-hmm. So deferred annuities come in three types. So the most easiest one, the ones that have been around for 150 years, is really just a fixed one. So this is a fixed one. Just think of a CD kind of style. It typically the most popular time frames, usually 5 years. So if it pays you 5% for 5 years, pretty easy math, right? You know how much you're going to get. It is tax deferred. So if you're using normal money, you're not going to pay tax on it. 1099 at the end of the year, which is nice. And until you finally withdraw that money, and you can keep rolling it over tax free even. You can obviously do this in an IRA, then it's already tax deferred. But so those are just for good earnings. Then the variable annuities came out, and the variable annuities said, you can go and invest in the stock market. Well, problem with those is usually those mutual funds they use are not very cheap ones. They have very high expenses. The insurance company will typically charge you a 1 to 1.5%, mortality and expense fee, which is just a fancy way of just saying a fee.
Okay.
And then they sometimes will add income guarantees for life. And then that's another fee. So when you think you're going to be making a lot of money on these, well, if you have 3 to 5, my personal record I've ever seen is 5% total fees in one of these annually. And there's no way that count can do that great, right? Not with that kind of, it's like driving with your emergency brake on. You might be able to move the car, but it's not going to go very fast.
No.
Right? So that's one of the big problems with those. Those are the ones that I usually find as a fiduciary standard of care. I can not usually find very great reasons to recommend those.
Okay.
So watch out when you hear somebody talk about variable annuities. All the negative press that you hear about annuities, pretty much always those.
Okay.
But again, the fixed index, those are ones that came out after that. And they said, well, how do we have you earn more than just what the insurance company will pay you, but not take on that additional principal risk? And so these are the ones, again, that your principal is guaranteed, but instead of the insurance company say you get 5%, they'll say, okay, you get, so much percentage of the S&P 500 index or so much up to a certain maximum. And so, of course, some of those years you can get really great returns. Some of those years will be a zero. That's when the market goes down. But
right.
You also, zero is kind of your hero then,
yes,
right?
Right.
You didn't lose anything. So that's one of the reasons why you want to, really get a little bit more info, really find out what should you be doing? And again, that really should be part of an overall plan. So one of the things that we have done is we've set up a lot of great stuff. Will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? Lots of great info, all sitting there in our digital toolbox. You can get access by just texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Yeah, remember, this is all complimentary. It also includes Eric's book that he wrote, Worry Less Wealth. You can get that as well. So make sure you take advantage of that. And thanks so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Eric, you talked about fees, and they are a big concern for people. Tell us more what we need to know about the fees that go with an annuity.
Yeah, so two of the biggest concerns with annuities are typically fees and access, liquidity. So fees are, I always think it's kind of funny when people talk about fees, because if you have a fixed annuity or fixed index annuity, typically there are no fees, no annual fees at all. And people say, oh, they have such high fees. And like, well, really? Because there is no fee. Now, there is a surrender fee. So if you say, I want all my money back out of this, and it's before the time limit's up, yeah, they will typically hit you with some decent sized fees on that. But you know that before you go in. Now, most of them allow you to take out 10% a year of your balance. Now, if you go to a bank, they typically don't let you take out 10% of your CD without a fee. So in some respects, they have more liquidity than bank CDs do. Now, there are fees in some annuities. The variable annuities, like I mentioned before, those could be really, really high. The fixed index don't typically do it unless you have an added guarantee of an income for life feature. Once you do that, that's going to usually be about 1% to 2%, and that's going to eat up some of your principal for sure. But typically the reason you do that is you want to have that money for the rest of your life. So you're not really caring about leaving a ton of principal behind. Yes, if you pass away early on, as it's being paid out, whatever balance is in there, you never annuitize these ones. You never turn it into an immediate annuity. You just withdraw money. So the principal is still there, but yeah, there's going to be less there because of that. But of course, also, if you make it to your 90s, you're guaranteed there will be nothing left because you're just living on the insurance company's money. So that means you won.
Yes.
so not a bad thing.
Okay. And then real quick, if you already own an annuity, are you locked in it, or can you make changes?
Well, what we've seen is when interest rates do massive swings, sometimes it makes sense to actually pay a fee to get out, because some of these companies will give you a bonus to move it. And so sometimes it might make sense to get out of a one, even if there is still a fee. Again, you have to look at the benefits. You have to look at the pros and cons. But yeah, we've seen a lot of times where it does make sense because of there's been a massive shift. Now, if you also have a lot of it guaranteed income, then maybe it doesn't. Sometimes it makes sense just to turn on the income earlier than planned, because so that way you start getting the money sooner, right? And let your market money bounce around and keep growing. So again, this all takes planning. This all takes some education. And so that's, again, why we've set up all this great stuff in our Wealth Creator Toolbox. Will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much in taxes, retirement? All that great reports are up there and all easy for you to download by just texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
All right. More good stuff to cover when we come back with Eric Heckman. This is Wealth Creator Radio. We'll be right back.
Imagine your first day of retirement. What do you see? Let's turn that vision into reality. The first step, get Eric Heckman's Wealth Creator Toolbox. In it, you'll get information on some of the biggest challenges you'll face in retirement. Request your Wealth Creator Toolbox now by texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. That's toolbox to 800-454-1184.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you with us. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer with Eric Heckman. Eric, I know you get questions all the time whenever you're out and about, when people find out what you do, that you handle retirement planning and finances. And I'm sure people always want to know what the next hottest investment's going to be, right?
Yep. And sometimes they even text those questions in from the show. So, yeah.
Oh, good. I love it. Well, that's what we're going to do right now is I am going to ask Eric your questions here on the air during our Wealth Creator mailbag. So here's our first question for the day from Ray. And he says, I've been worried about the markets and if we'll continue to see more volatility ahead. I don't want to make any more or take any more big losses. How long should I be in cash before I try to get back in the markets?
Well, why'd you get out?
I knew you were going to say that. I didn't.
Yeah, no. I mean, one of the answers is, if it's a scary ride, don't get on the roller coaster, right? So, first of all, you have to be able to, only take the risk that you're comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable with it, there are a lot of better options for safer money today. It's just, you got to be a little bit more creative and look around and get a little bit more knowledge. But, in terms of jumping in and out of the markets, it's one of the worst things you can do. I mean, anytime you're investing, that investment should be there at least 3 years, if not longer. And so if you're investing for, a month, a week, something really short, that's gambling. That's not investing. So that's one of the things that you want to watch out for. So I think one answer is, make sure you have the right amount of risk before you start investing. And then, the second part would be, you should have some money in cash. You should have some money protected, but the rest of the money should stay there long term. So, if you're being short term and in and out, that's a sign of somebody who should not be investing at all. So that's got to decide either in or out, right? You can't be halfway in the pool and halfway out.
Right, exactly. So understand, what makes you nervous, but yet get some guidance on that. And that's why Eric and his team are here. That's part of, their blueprint to worryless wealth is they talk about investment strategies. But Eric, you're not just an investor advisor, are you? You're a planner for retirement.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we'll make sure we look at that and see how that fits in. And, you should have so much money in the market. You should have so much in foundational, meaning stuff that can't go away. And then we also use a third category called steady income, which is low volatility, but high income type products. And, that's something that if somebody's more worried about volatility, that those might be sometimes the better options to go to also.
Okay.
So there are options out there, but it always starts best with a plan first.
With a plan. 800-454-1184. And you can call, you can text that number if you would like. Text the word toolbox to get the toolbox that Eric offers every week on our show. It includes his book too, and educational materials about any of these questions that are coming up in our mailbag today. Next question from Emily. I've worked at a hospital for about 18 years now. I was planning to work a full 20 years before I retired, but now I'm thinking about retiring earlier than I'd planned. Before I give my notice, how do I make sure I'm ready to retire?
Yeah, well, definitely want to have a plan first, right? This is one where we're just talking about planning. You better make sure you have everything accounted for and known for. And I mean, I was just working with some clients that, he's looking to retire in October, and she'll be 64, but she won't be 65. I mean, he's over 65, so they kind of had forgotten that there's going to be about a 9-month gap where she's not eligible for Medicare. So that they were a little shocked when they found out it was going to be $800 a month, and but Cobra was going to be $13. So still not a bad deal, I guess. But so that's one of the things that you have to watch out for is, okay, are you considering all the different options, right? Are you, if you're retiring pre-Medicare age, how are you going to get that insurance? How much is it going to cost for you? How long is this money going to last? What's your spending level and all that stuff? So that's really what we do when we're creating that blueprint to worry less wealth. We do that income plan. So if you're going to retire early, okay, will that money last till you're age 100, or at least a 95? But if it lasts till you're 70, that's not so good. So that'd be the first thing. And then secondly, are your investments been repositioned or getting repositioned to produce income? Once you retire, you don't need points on the scoreboard. You need cash in the door, right? You need money in the bank. And so that's one of the things that you have to redo your investments to start paying that money out and taking that money out. Obviously, you got to look at taxes along the way. How do we minimize those taxes? Look at the healthcare, like I mentioned already. And then lastly, legacy. Make sure whenever you're gone, who's going to get your stuff? Is it people you like more, or is it lawyers and courts and taxes, right? So,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that you want to do. So we've built a great resource called our digital toolbox, where we've got a lot of great downloads, like will my money last as long as I do, Social Security timing, all sorts of great things like my book, Worry Less Wealth, and even a link to set up a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. So all you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. All right, here's another question for you, Eric, from Annie. A couple of friends that I work with are retiring at age 62 and claiming their Social Security benefits. I thought I had to wait until 70 to take Social Security. Uh-oh, hearsay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the two times pretty much for everybody nowadays are 62 is the earliest, 67's what they call the full retirement, and 70 is the highest number you get. The super dangerous part about between 62 and 67 is if you work and you make over, this year it's a little over 22, 23-ish, but somewhere around there, you have to, it changes every year. But if you make too much money, they start taking away your Social Security benefits.
Oh my.
And so that's not what you want to do if you think you might go back to work. Because a lot of times when people stop working, they don't think they're going to work. And then all of a sudden somebody calls them up and says, hey, you want to do this project for 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And then they work, and then guess what? They do their taxes and they pay back all their Social Security.
Aw,
so
yeah.
not smart. So that's one issue. But the other one is lots of times it actually does make sense to start sooner, at least for the spouse who made the least money. And then secondly, even for the spouse that made more money, quite often I've run the numbers and I'd say probably 2/3 of the time, it actually makes more sense for people to start sooner because they don't burn down as many assets. So if you're going to be retired and you don't have any income coming in because you're waiting for Social Security, well, then you're eating up other assets, right?
Right.
So, now it's one thing if you're going to work till 70, then obviously you're going to have a lot more money. But, if you're going to say I'm the retire, say at 65, but not turn on my Social Security for 5 years, that means you ate up a lot of other monies while you're waiting for that Social Security to get bigger. And often I find it doesn't pay off. So we look at your net worth difference at age 80 and age 90, not the difference between Social Security benefits, but your net worth, because that's really what we care about.
Yeah.
And so, so something that you really need to do some planning to get the right answer.
Okay. Very, very good. Yeah. Definitely get some help with that. Don't just do what your friends are doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question is from Norm. And he says, we were not planning to retire for several more years, but we've had some health issues come up. And now my wife isn't healthy enough to work. I'm thinking I should stop working to take care of her. How can you help us evaluate if this is a wise thing to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's, a tough situation to be in, but it may make sense to do that, right? Because if that's what you want to do, right? If that's what your goal would be, to be able to be there for her, it might make a lot more sense. You still want to have a plan. You still want to make sure that that's not going to, mess up your retirement, because that's the hard part is, Norm might last 10 or 15 or 20 years longer than she does. And if he didn't make as much money, and especially in Silicon Valley, it's really tough to get a job after you're 55, 60 and such. So if you're, quitting then and trying to come back into workforce, it might not be so easy. So I would definitely do some planning, but I think that's definitely an admirable goal to try to do that if you can.
Oh, that's wonderful. But I'm sorry about the health issues too. All right. Next question, last question, probably. This is from Nick. And he says, one of our daughters had to move back in with us this year. So we've been supporting her financially. And our oldest son lost his job. So we've been covering his mortgage for a couple of months. We were happy that we had the means to help them. But now we're wondering if we can still retire next year.
Yeah, I always tell people there's financial aid for college, but there's no financial aid for retirement. Obviously, this isn't really financial aid retired, but specific. But you got to watch out helping your kids too much, because are they going to be there to help you? Maybe not. So I mean, I think you definitely have to re-update the plan, make sure you can still do all that stuff, because you might end up having to do more, and then of course you got extra expenses, especially if she's living with you, right? So. I think updating the plan would be the first key. And then secondly, do you at some point have to, rip the Band-Aid off and say, sorry, guys, you're on your own. And, but yeah, it can be a tough thing to try to do that. But, again, this all starts with planning. This all starts with making sure you know what's going on and making sure you know what's going on in your situation. So if you want to set up a time to talk with me, we can go over whatever questions you have. Just set up a 15 to 30 minute phone call. All you have to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, you can call or text the word visit to 800-454-1184 or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
We'll be right back with more of Wealth Creator Radio and Eric Heckman.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Eric is president of Heckman Financial, where their mission is to get you to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. So we have come to the part in our show where Eric tells us a wealth success story. So this is always a nice lesson of something that worked out for someone, a good example to see how things can work out the best for retirees. So Eric, why don't you tell us about what you have for us today?
Yeah, well, in 30 years of doing this, I've seen a lot of smart things and a lot of things that people don't do. It's not so smart.
You've seen it all.
Seen it all for sure. Really, it's always so boring sometimes when the answer is people took some time to plan. but often that believe it or not, that's actually usually the case. And I was doing a review at the end of 2022 with a client that we'd started working together in 2020 actually. So we're obviously in the middle of the COVID stuff and all that, but they were still working from home and wanting to retire. And so they wanted to start, getting that plan together, making sure they had everything set up. And so, we started looking at all the various accounts. We started doing some Roth conversions back then because, with the market being down and then back up and such, we put some money into foundational stuff that can't go away, stuff that's guaranteed. When the markets do good, they earn some good income and earn some good rates. But when the markets go down, they don't lose. And then we also had some steady income funds that pay good dividends, that are less volatile. Well, of course, in 2021, everything did great, right? So they were very happy. And, as everybody is, right? Nobody ever complains when everything's up.
Right.
And then, of course, 2022 came around and everything went right back down. And the nice part was that foundational money, their statement said, negative 19%, you earned zero. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's very, negative 19 is not good, but when you earn zero, but you lost zero,
right.
I mean, it should have almost said you lost zero, not you earned zero.
That's what it should have said, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It should say that. And, and so that was very reassuring for them to say, wow, okay, now we know where we can take some money out of for this first year if we need some, because we know that didn't go down and we know we can kind of weather these storms. And that's why this process works. The nice thing for me is, a lot of times when you first start out doing something, you don't know if it's going to work. And especially if it's something that takes years to go through the process. If you want to get a little bit more data, you want to set up a time to talk, or if you just want to kind of look over some of the resources we have some great stuff on paying too much in tax and how to empower yourself. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or go directly to and download it at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.